Om Sri Ramanaya. We will see some questions from Aham Sphurana, a glimpse of self-realization. The chapter is a typical Western visitors in depth dialogue. Time and again I have observed that the Maharshi emphasizes that realization was more the result of Guru's grace rather than anything else. I had been in despair of ever again getting the Maharshi alone. It is hard to unburden the soul before a crowd. One morning, I resolutely made my way into the hall a few hours earlier than usual and found him there unattended, emanating his usual wonderful stillness and ineffable peace. I asked quietly if I might talk with him. He nodded, smiling, and sent for someone to translate. On the arrival of your devotee, I put my first question. What are the obstacles which hinder realization of the self? Bhagavan said they are habits of mind, that means vasanas. Next question, how to overcome these mental habits? Bhagavan said by realizing the self. The next question is, that is a vicious circle? Bhagavan said it is the mind which brings about such difficulties, creating obstacles and then suffering from the perplexity of apparent paradoxes. Find out who makes the inquiries and the self will be found. Then, what are the aids for realization? Bhagavan said introversion of mind is the one and only aid. Then, how can I achieve the same? Bhagavan said, by preventing the mind from straying out after thoughts, desires, and imagined objects of sensory perception. Then, if the world is a dream, am I making efforts to realize the self within a dream? Bhagavan said, yes. Then, but there will always be other dreams. Do we have to make efforts to realize within each and every dream? Bhagavan said, if effort is going on to realize the self within this dream, it means that the same effort is going on within all other dreams also. Then, discussions, lectures, and meditations, are they not useful for attaining realization? Bhagavan said, all these are only secondary aids, whereas the essential aid is Guru's grace. Then, how long will it take for one to get realization? Bhagavan said, why do you desire to know? He said, to give me hope. Bhagavan said, such a desire is also an obstacle. The self is ever there. There is nothing without it. Be the self and the desires and doubts will disappear. The self is the witness in sleep, dream and waking states of existence. These states belong to the ego. The self transcends the ego. Ego or no ego, the self remains always. It is ever as it is. Did you not exist in sleep? Did you know then that you were asleep? Was there awareness of the world in sleep? In sleep, you remained without a body and without a world. Why do you know hanker of these? In Jagrat means watchfulness. You also remain aloof from body and world. It is only in Jagrat that you describe the experience of sleep as being an awareness. Therefore, the consciousness when asleep is the same as that when awake. If you know what this waking consciousness is, you will know the consciousness that witnesses all the three states. Such absolute consciousness is found by means of seeking the source of pure consciousness. Then, in attempting to trace back pure consciousness to its source, I am overwhelmed by sleep and soon fall into slumber. Bhagavan said, no harm. He asked, I still remind that to me sleep is nothing but a mere blank. Bhagavan said, for whom is the blank? Find out. You cannot deny your existence at any time. The self is ever there and continues in all states. The question, should I remain as if in sleep and be watchful at the same time? Bhagavan said, yes, alert watchfulness is the true waking state. Therefore, the state of Jagrata Sushupti means waking deep sleep will not be one of the sleep, but sleepless sleep. If you go the way of your thoughts, you will be carried away by them and you will find yourself in an endless maze. Question. So then I must go back tracing the source of thoughts? Bhagavan said, quite so. In that way, the thoughts will disappear and the self alone will remain. Question. Does the practice, who am I, lead to any spot inside the body? Bhagavan said, there is no inside or outside for the self. These concepts are merely mental projections of the ego. The self is pure and absolute. However, till realization is gained, it may be said that consciousness has a lotus in the body, which is located on the right hand side of the chest. Next question. Is not intellect a help for realization? Bhagavan said, yes, up to a certain stage. Even so, realize that the self transcends the intellect. The latter must itself vanish in order that the self might be realized. Does my realization help others? Bhagavan said, yes, certainly. It is the best help possible. However, the actual truth is that there are no others to be helped. For an emancipated soul sees only the self in everything. Just like a goldsmith estimating the gold in various jewelers sees gold and nothing but gold. When you identify yourself with the body, forms and shapes are to be found. But when you transcend your body, the others in the world disappear along with your body consciousness. Question. Is it so with plants, trees, etc.? Bhagavan, do they exist at all apart from the self? Find out. You think that you see them. The thought is projected out from the mind. Find out from where the mind rises. Thoughts will cease to rise and the self alone will remain. Question. I understand theoretically, but thoughts refuse to subside. Bhagavan said, thought is nothing but mental excitement. Mind is only a bubble floating on the self. Break the bubble and you are the ocean. Question. Is it the mind that creates the world we see? Bhagavan said, yes. It is like a cinema show. There is the light on the screen and the shadows flitting across impress the audience as the enactment of some screenplay. If in the same screenplay an audience also is shown, what is the position? The seer and the seen will then only be the screen. Apply this analogy to yourself. You are the screen. The self has created the ego, and the ego has its additions of thoughts which are displayed as the world, the trees, plants, etc., about which you are asking. The truth is that all these are nothing but the self. If you see the self, the same will be found to be all. Everywhere and always, nothing but the self exists. Question. Yes, but I still understand only theoretically. And the answers are simple, beautiful, and convincing. Bhagavan said, even the thought I do not realize is a hindrance. The self alone is, and he alone could ever be. Question. What are vasanas? Bhagavan said, habits of thoughts, accumulated tendencies of mind, and the intellectual predispositions. Question. How does one get rid of these hindrances? Bhagavan said, seek and self through meditation in this manner. Trace every thought back to its point of origin, which is only the mind. Never allow thought to run on. If you do so, it will be unending. Take it back its starting place, the mind's essence of pure consciousness, again and again, and thought and thinker will both die of inaction eventually. The mind only exists by reason of thought. Stop thought and there is no mind. As each doubt or depressing thought arises, ask yourself, who is it that doubts? What is it that is depressed? Go back constantly to the question, who or what is this thing called I? Where is the source of the mind? Tear everything out and go on discarding until there is nothing but the source of all left, and then live always in that and only in it. There is no past or future, save in the mind, only present exists. Yes, even the present is mere imagination. It is, that is all. I am that I am. Om Shanti.